This is the Anything Goes with Jackson Neill podcast. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jackson Neill, here for episode number 112 of Anything Goes. And today's episode is with Zach. He's the guest. We're going to be talking about his crazy busy 2019 so far. He's released a ton of singles, and he has a lot more stuff planned, so we'll jump into all of that. Just want to remind everyone first, though, you can check this podcast out on all of your favorite platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, all of those places. Subscribe and rate on your favorite platform because that does a lot to help grow the show. Also, you can check out my website, jacksonneillpodcast.com. I publish everything that I do on that website, so make sure to check that out and keep up to date on all of my latest episodes. So far in 2019, Zach has been crazy productive. He's dropped dozens of singles already, once a week, all throughout the summer. He's dropped off a couple music videos as well. And even with all of this productivity, even with all this content coming out, even with all these songs coming out, he still has plans coming up to do even more. So in this interview, I talked with him about these singles, the inspiration behind some of them. He told some stories about his whole name, Zach, and all of that, his inspirations, things like that, and then what he has planned going forward. So let's jump right in. Your most recent track, if I'm not mistaken, although it is Friday, I didn't see if you dropped anything. Your most recent track is Greenland. Can you just tell me a little bit about the backstory of that song?
Yeah. So, it's really funny because I like talking about, like, the period of time when I made the song rather than just, like, the song. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like that is the total reason for the song being made, is what was going on in your life. So basically what happened was somebody hit me up through Instagram basically saying that, you know, this big record producer wants to work with you who worked with Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones and all this stuff. And it was like his secretary or whatever. You know, it sounded kind of like sketchy or weird or whatever. But I got on a phone call with them and I heard them out. And basically, long story short, they told me to drive up to like their like big mansion, like in like Calabasas, and I went out there, and lo and behold, I went into this guy's place, and he had platinum records all over the walls and stuff, and he was basically just telling me like how he really liked my stuff and he wanted to work together. I'm not gonna like drop any names, but he liked my stuff, and the whole point of the meeting was for him to listen to all my tracks and kind of give me a critique on what he thought of me. Mm-hmm. And like he picked out like one song out of like 15 that he thought actually had a shot, and I was like, damn, dude, like, all right, you like just one song. And basically he was telling me how like the African drums were getting really big, and like if I want to be able to make a big hit right now, like the kind of like worldly the kind of like just like the kind of vacation feel type drums where it's like that kind of like Congo beat. Mm-hmm. He's like, this is like the next big wave, and this was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Oh, so wow. it was kind of like right after like Despacito came out. Mm-hmm. And that whole like the whole Latin pop wave was like kind of dying. It was just like kind of like off its big pinnacle, and then it was coming down. And then basically the guy was like, yeah, if you want to make a big hit, then you probably want to try to use one of those that type of groove. And I went home and I was so inspired off of like what he said and how he didn't like 15 or 14 tracks, but he said that he told me what I had to do to like make a good track. And I was just so inspired off of that, and honestly just made Greenlight in like 2 days. And the whole thing, the whole thing just kind of got spawned off of, the motivation of wanting to make a better song than the 14 tracks that he didn't like. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically how the song got made. The inspiration for the lyrics came off of that whole experience. Like, I don't credit it to anything else except that whole experience that happened with that guy. And then the song was just made.
Yeah, wow, that's a pretty cool one. Just getting a quick DM invite to come out to this mansion with this platinum recording guy.
Yeah. It was really random, and nothing really ever happened with that guy because I'll tell you what, like in the music industry, like there's a lot of ulterior motives when somebody who has a big reputation is looking at somebody smaller, unless they really prove to you that they believe in you. You just got to be careful. Like I kind of suspected that he wanted me to pay for something at some point, or like buy like a track from him to record over as a producer. And it kind of got like a little strange with him after a little bit because of that. But what I took out of the whole experience was not that, oh, this guy tried to like take advantage of me or screw me over or anything, but it was more like, he took the time to listen to my music and he gave me some advice on what worked and what I needed to make, and the motivation of basically kind of telling me that, look, you make a lot of songs, but only one of them was commercially viable here. And then I went ahead and made a very commercially viable track in Greenland, or at least for what I believe is commercially viable. And the whole experience just kind of led to that song being made, and I'm grateful for that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Even though nothing really came out of working with the guy, that's what I got out of it.
Well, it's about taking the positives, I guess, out of any situations. What can you gain from that? And it looks like you were able to find that kind of silver lining of the whole situation.
Right. I have to do that. You got to do that a lot in the music industry when you're unknown. You know what I'm saying? There'll be a lot of instances where like things didn't work out the way you thought it would, but it led to something else that was good. But you wouldn't even have really thought about it unless you looked back and was like, yeah, actually, that failure did lead to a great song being made in this example. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because there was a lot more to the story than just me and that guy splitting ways. Like I really was excited. You know what I'm saying? Like, as you would imagine, I was really excited for this guy to be driving me out. I thought he believed in me. I thought my career was like going to take off. It was really cool. And then I kind of just started to realize that it was like a little bit weird, but I had to go up there and check it out for myself. Mm-hmm. I couldn't have just been skeptical and not went to his house. I had to go and check out the situation and see for myself. It's not like I was paying to go there. I mean, gas money to drive there, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's negligible at that point.
Yeah. So, that's what the deal with that was.
Mm-hmm. So, Greenland is just one of the many, many tracks you've released so far this year. You've had a very prolific 2019. I mean, I was going through a lot of your songs. I wasn't able to make it through every single one because there's just so many from this year. I guess, why did you decide for 2019 to be this year that you were going to release this many tracks?
Well, I moved to LA 3 years ago, and I didn't have any music under this name. I went by a rapper, Prophecy, and then I was coming right out of college, and I was moving to LA, and I knew that I was singing a lot better than I was rapping, and I put all the work in through the last 3 years, and I mean, just around about 7 months ago, I was starting to realize, like, look, I got a lot of tracks here, and I wasn't releasing them because when you have like a lot of music that you believe is good, you don't want to just really release it. Like, you don't know once you put it out, it's out. So you want to try to seek out any opportunity you can to make that track land, or those series of tracks land the best before you release them. And that's kind of what I was doing. I was just building up these tracks. I was keeping my social media engaged, but I wasn't really releasing any originals because I wanted to release them back to back all at the same time. And then I picked this period of time because it was the summertime, and my brand is pretty synonymous with the summer. Mm-hmm. And you know, I just picked this period of time because there was a lot of good tracks that were ready, and basically because it was the summertime, and I wanted my brand to resonate at the most when summer was going on and the weather was nice and people were in the mood to receive my music, which also sounds, you know, kind of tropical and islandy and fun. So it's honest. A big part of it was the season. I wanted to release it during this time because of the season, but also because it's like, dude, I gotta get this stuff out. I gotta put it out already. Like, you gotta put it out at some point. Mm-hmm. And this was the time to put it out. So yeah, that's basically kind of the answer.
Well, I mean, I always really, you're not the first artist. I've heard this one other rapper, Young L3X, who did something kind of similar, like releasing a track a week or whatever. And I always find that so interesting and so cool when an artist is able to do that, because, you know, now as a fan, if I'm listening, you know, if I hear one of your tracks and I like it, I now know I don't have to wait that much longer to get something new, and it keeps me engaged as a fan, and it keeps me continuously coming back for more.
Right. So exactly. And you just got to be able to keep it up, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You just got to because it's funny. Like, I have a lot more tracks to release right now, and I'm doing these Summer Jam Fridays. But at a certain point, and my fan base is definitely engaged with what's going on. But you also got to wonder, like, is there something else that I could be doing to prepare before dropping each track that can make it hit better? Do I have to do like a pre-release campaign a couple weeks before I release the next single for it to really hit? You know, like, these are things you always wonder as an artist. And I'm kind of starting to just come to the point where we're just like, dude, you just got to put it out there and try your best, because if you try to, a big mistake I've made recently in my career is I've paid a lot of money to try to basically take shortcuts to making these songs just kind of hit, you know, just like paying someone to be like, hey, just get it out there. And, you know, it won't just get out there if you pay for it unless the person really believes in you. That's just the truth, you know? So it's like that. If you get to the point where it's like, look, if you don't know who to pay to really get your tracks more exposure, and you're releasing weekly, and that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. I mean, it's like, you just have to kind of put this music out there, and you know, path of least resistance. It's gonna find its, if it's good, it's gonna find its way into the ears of someone who could help you out, because the whole building a fan base thing, that just takes a lot of time. But, you know, these kids who are you know, being put on at like 19, 20 years old, you know, they did it through either the means of some kind of viral content for them that took off, or they had someone who really believed in them. And, you know, the whole viral thing, it's like, I'm always down to think about that, but nothing's come into my mind lately. And, you know, the people whoever believes in me hasn't really presented themselves yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only one who can lead, who could drive the engine right now. So, you know, these are all things that, you know, although the weekly releases are going, these are all things that I'm thinking about, because it's like, if there's any way that I could do something better, then I want to do it. But, you know, you just got, like, things come to you when they're meant to come to you. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And also another thing, that whole virality thing, artists that go viral, another thing you have to think about is, where are they in 3-5 years? Did they build the fan base correctly? And I think something like releasing tracks weekly, it builds maybe slowly, but it builds it organically and in a way that'll make it last longer. Right. It will make it last longer. You know, the people who are tuning into these weekly releases, I mean, they're in it. They're loving it. And I guess what the answer could possibly be for what I was just saying is, look, the people who are engaging, you know, just really keep those people engaged. They'll spread it for you. You know, like, that's where it will start with.
You just have to make your brand really strong and grow with those select, 100 or so people, and maybe just try to grow it from that. Like maybe that's the real answer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the awesome thing about music is that it's such a great thing to share. It's like, oh, you get past the aux cord. Oh, I'm gonna put on this guy Zach. He has these great songs I like. Oh, who is this? And then like their friends hear about it, and it kind of that spirals out of it. That's the great thing about music, is that it's able to be passed along like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think if you do all the groundwork to make your brand really strong, like I'm really passionate about branding. I think branding is so cool because, the stronger you can make your brand, then when that circumstance is happening that you were just talking about, when people are passing around the cord, and maybe they'll like open up an Instagram and they'll see like the cover picture, and then they'll see a video, and then that was synonymous with what they heard on Spotify and saw and what they felt with it. And if your branding is really strong right off the bat, then they'll get a feeling, and that feeling is what will capture them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to do that groundwork to make that brand super strong, which I think is like really cool to try to develop.
Exactly, and then have that brand be able to then connect with the audience in a way that makes them feel like they're a part of it, and they want to share it as well. Because when you have your favorite artist or your favorite artists, nothing's better than sharing your favorite artist to somebody and them hearing it and go, man, that's really cool. Who is that again? I'm going to add that to my Spotify. That's the best feeling. So
right.
if you can get your fans to kind of think about it in that way, then you're golden.
Right. Like in the way that like it makes them look good if they're sharing it, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this a little bit earlier in the interview, but I read about how you changed your name. You did go by Prophecy, and now you're going by Zach. Can you just take me a little bit into that decision to have that name change? Why did you decide to change your stage name to Zach, and why at that point as well?
So I thought that Zach would. There's a lot of different reasons, but the main reason that comes to my mind was that in the music industry, people will introduce themselves as their stage names a lot of the time. For the most part, almost 100% of the time, you're introducing yourself as your stage name when you're at a networking event, or where you're at a show, or you're at whatever. And I was starting to sing more, and Prophecy made me feel more like a deep, profound spiritual rapper, which is what I was. I started off like that, and the style of my music was changing, and it was a little bit more fun, and it was a little bit more colorful, and I felt like Zach, like Z-A-K. When you think about Z-A-K, it's really just bold and prominent. Z-A-K is actually my initials, Zachary Aaron Klein. So I really like that right off the bat. But, I also thought just Zach Z-A-K, it was kind of fun and sharp and playful. And that's kind of like the way my music was evolving. It was becoming more melodical. It was becoming less serious, more fun, more uplifting. And I just wanted the reason why I changed it at that point in my life is because the music was changing, but also I wanted to start introducing myself. I was living in LA for a long enough period at that time to meet enough people to be like, look, when I introduce myself to people, I would like it to be as Zach, and it also fits the music. So that's the answer.
Yeah, and I think you're so right with that. It fits that kind of, you've described your music as almost a little bit summery and tropical and upbeat like that. It really fits that whole aesthetic you already have going with your music and the whole vibe of your songs.
Right, exactly.
It's about making that full kind of image. So I want to talk a little bit about also the development of your music, because you describe yourself as this rapper. You now transition obviously more to singing. Can you just take me a little bit inside that transition? When did you just start to realize, okay, maybe I need to go more towards singing? What was it exactly about that made you decide to take a pivot in your sound?
Well, when you're meant to go a certain direction in life, it kind of just slowly leaks out of you the way, or it kind of, you're slowly guided in that direction. And like, I already saw when I was leaving college because I was making a lot of music in college where I was rapping and I was singing hooks, and I was doing more and more of this kind of jazzy melodical singing. And when I first moved to LA, I was like, dude, like that's where I'm original. That's where I'm natural and comfortable, and I feel the most unique and artistic. There was only so much I could do with rapping, in my opinion, for me personally, in terms of my voice. And, I've mentioned it before in interviews, but I respect the quality and the timbre and the resonance of your voice rather than the actual lyrical content sometimes. Like, I think the lyrical content, once you bind it with the right voice and the right melodies, that's beautiful. But without the amazing, unique voice, it's nothing. You might as well just go write a book at that point. So, I think lyrics are extremely important, but I don't think they're more important than when it comes to making a song, like a record, or building an artist who makes people feel a certain way. I think the timbre of the voice is the most important, and I've always felt that way. So that's why for the past couple of years, I've just been developing the originality and the unique timbre that my voice brings. Everybody has a unique timbre in their voice. They just don't develop it. And that's kind of what I was starting to feel, is like I had this unique timbre that I wanted to develop that nobody else had, because nobody else's vocal tract is built quite like mine, just like yours isn't quite built like anybody else's. And I was honing that in. So that's kind of what was going on.
Mm-hmm. So it was a real kind of technical approach by you and real technical thought out as to why to switch your music.
Yeah, I mean, well, now that I'm looking back, thinking about it, I could think about it technically, but at the time, all I knew was, what I really knew, the thought process that I knew was, I have a tone in my voice that I haven't heard before that I want to develop, and I need to start singing a little bit more to really show people that that's the unique thing I have to bring to the music industry. That's the train of thought I had. Mm-hmm. It wasn't in rapping. When I rapped, I didn't that tone didn't come out, but it came out when I sang, and I knew I had to set myself apart to have a chance, or to continue to have a chance. And that's why I wanted to go that direction, and it felt the most natural and fun to me.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Kind of brought everything together into the one package for you. So, you have all of these songs you're releasing, you're continuing to release. I guess, what else are you currently working on? What's the next step? Are you continuing to look to release a lot of singles for the foreseeable future, or is there maybe a project up ahead?
Yeah. So Summer Jam Fridays, I think I'm going to start winding that down right now, because I'm actually about to release the Madman music video, and that's going to kind of put like a big bang at the end of the summer with this really cool music video that I've been editing and probably going to release sometime in the next week. I'm just figuring out some logistics with the release date, but in the next week or so, I'll be releasing it. And then I have a lot more songs, and what I kind of want to start doing is I have, my roommate kind of pointed out to me, which was interesting, that I have two different kind of feelings that I've been putting out lately. I've been putting out the smoother, more sensual, neo-soul, R&B, slower, airier kind of side, through with songs like Another Down and Off the Radar, and this new song, Taking You Home. All these songs are on one side, and on the other side I have more like an upbeat, poppy, fun, energetic island type of feel. So I thought that, with releasing the rest of my songs and songs I've actually already released, I would package them into two kind of things where I'm going to call my overall, maybe bigger album, The Jukebox. And then I'll have like the Jukebox Smooth Edition, where it's like, smoother songs that I've already released or new songs that I'm going to release that are smooth, and kind of package all the smooth ones into one package and then package all of the island ones into like the jukebox island version or whatever I end up calling it. But they're going to be two jukebox little EPs, and I'm going to release them separately, and I'm basically going to market them in a way where people can, you know, buy them along with merchandise that's synonymous with each of those EPs. And, you know, they might be able to like buy a little package of, you know, the smooth songs where, you know, I send them like a download pack and, you know, some merchandise and maybe a Levels hat and maybe one other thing with it. And, you know, they could buy these packages that are categorized by the feelings of these different EPs. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. And that's in terms of the releasing the music side. And then in terms of like the music side, you know, I got it like a great little live band, and I think I might start making alternative band versions to my current songs. Like I'll like record these live videos of me and the band playing a revamped version of these songs, and then at that point I'll be able to kind of like tour with them playing those alternative versions or even new songs me and the band make together. But I definitely know that I feel the best while playing with a band, not just like a backing track from a DJ. So, you know, it's kind of those two things, you know, releasing those packages and then kind of putting together like a real band, like not just Zach with an accompanied band, but like my own, you know, separate kind of band that I play with. And, you know, we could kind of try to do our own thing, have both things going at the same time. And you know, that's what's going on with that. And then, you know, my Levels, we were talking at the beginning of this call about my hat brand, Levels, going to start getting that off the ground as well. And, you know, starting a podcast. And I think that's going to be a good way to make like a lot of great connections in the music industry as well. You know, bringing people on my podcast and talking about, and, you know, giving them this merchandise that I'm trying to get more popular across the entertainment industry, and, you know, bringing them on the podcast and talking about the trials and tribulations of making it in the entertainment industry. I think it's, you know, something a lot of people are interested in talking about, and, you know, it encompasses, you know, social media, you know, staying relevant on Instagram and how to manage that and how to keep your creativity up and going. And you know, so those three things, the packaging the EPs, and selling them in a way to my fans that they could receive well, the live band and the Levels brand, getting those three things off the ground, I think is kind of like what the future's looking like right now. And then one last thing I'll say is getting in songwriting sessions in LA, showing that I'm a valuable asset as a songwriter, that I'm a great top liner and I write great melody. And I could write really great lyrics too, but I could really bring your song together with like a hook. I need to get into those live sessions and, you know, just get out there and show that I can, you know, contribute to maybe like a good publishing firm or, you know, some kind of great songwriting team in LA. These are all the things that are swirling in my head right now for the future. So
you got a lot of stuff on your mind there, but it all sounds really, really cool. I love that idea with the whole packaging the EPs. I think that's a kind of a really cool idea to go about that release. Right. Yep. My roommate, his name's A Game. Shout out A Game STL. He's my roommate. He's a rapper, and he started doing this thing where like he was selling like this really cool merchandise, like this pants that he made. It is based off of like a song where he says this phrase push push, and the pants have push push on the side, and he basically was selling like these $25 and $50 packages where people can get like early access to his mixtape and some videos and also get the pants, and you know, he has tons of fans buying these packages, and I was like, wow, it's a great idea. So I have everything I need to do that as well. I just need to pull it all together. But yeah, I just need to wrap up Summer Jam Fridays first, because that's taking a lot of time. And once I do that, I can start to, you know, actually give something to the fans that they want to buy. Because fans want to buy. They want to give you money. They want to pay for things. They just don't know how, because they're just, all they could do is stream your song on Spotify. You know what I'm saying? Thanks again to Zach for coming onto the podcast. Make sure to go down into the show notes. There, you're going to find links to stream all of Zach's music. His singles are really, really just fun to listen to. You kind of add them into your playlist. I mean, walking down the street, driving the car, especially now with the tail end of summer, still some nice days left. His music is perfect for that. So definitely recommend you go check out all of his latest singles and to follow him on social to keep up to date with everything that he has going on. And with that, that's it for this episode of Anything Goes with Jackson Neill. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. We are back. New episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. Got some really, really fun interviews planned for you guys. And for more episodes, go down into the show notes, hit that link to jacksonneillpodcast.com. That's my personal website where I post all of my podcasts, as well as this one, my sports and music discussion ones. That's where I talk about music with some writers and radio broadcasters and things like that. New episodes of the sports one on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's back up and launched. And the music one is coming back this upcoming Sunday, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. If you're a really big fan of the show, if you're really, really big fan, maybe you want to consider becoming a subscriber on Patreon. It's just a couple dollars a month, and you get access to bonus content from right here on the podcast, including from basically all of my interviews here on Anything Goes, including today's with Zach. We talked about his influences, his favorite songs and stuff he's listening to right now. So make sure to go down to the show notes. There's a link to Patreon down there. There you can sign up and subscribe to get all that cool bonus content. I write, record, produce these podcasts myself as a full-time college student. So any little bit of support really, really does go a long way. If you want to stay up to date on everything that I'm publishing, all my podcasts, everything I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JacksonNeill20. Today's music is by Analog by Nature with their song CDK Sunday. And that's it. Thanks for listening. I'll see you all next time.